It's system review time, and today we're looking at the Anbernic RG351P. Before I get into the review, I want to say that getting hold of this was as challenging as the review itself. Let me tell you about it. So, the Anbernic RG351P. I've been aware of these for several months. I ordered one from a Chinese website called Retro Mimi, who I'd previously bought the RK2020 from with no problem. Having ordered it from them, I got an email from Anbernic saying, would I like one of these for free if I would make a review video? And I said, sorry, I've already bought one, but thanks all the same. After a month of waiting, it hadn't arrived, and I emailed Retro Mimi and they said, we'll look into it, and promptly didn't get back to me at all. So I'm now having raised a dispute on PayPal to try and get a refund. Ordered one on Amazon and it arrived within 2 days. So that was a bit of a palaver. Retro Mimi, not happy with you. Anyway, let's get on to the review. So, the RG351P from Anbernic. The front of the... No, wait, that's Retro Rob's thing. Here's the box. It's a typical Anbernic box. I quite like them. But I'm not here to review boxes. So let's take the thing out of the box. We have stuff in it other than the console. We have some notes that I wrote to sort out settings on the Dreamcast emulator. They give you this. Or, actually, I didn't buy it on Amazon, did I? I bought it from Droidbox. Duh. Yeah, this came in it. I don't know if Droidbox put it in there or Anbernic. But either way, it's a USB-C to USB 3, 2A, whatever adapter with a Wi-Fi dongle on it. Handy because these things no longer have built-in Wi-Fi. Micro SD card. What size was that? It was a 64 gigabyte with the operating system and a load of ROMs that came on it. Manual, screen protector, some screen wipes, which I thought was rather cool. Also, USB-C charging cable. This is the cable that came with the RK2020. Why have I got this in here? Because it works, and the one that came with the handheld didn't work. Not impressed, Anbernic. Anyway, let's get on to the handheld itself. Comes in the bag thing with these. I like this. Anbernic seem to put these on all of their handhelds, and it just protects all of the buttons and sticks and things. Things should be protected when you're spending a chunk of money on something like this. So, here it is. Let's have a look what you get on it. Stereo speakers and an unfocused camera, yeah. There and there, micro SD card, reset button, yay. Of all of these Odroid Go Advanced clone things, well, the RK2020 took away a whole load of the buttons. Anbernic put them back. On off switch, come on camera, focus. D-pad, analog sticks, face buttons, select, start. 2 USB-C ports. That one is for data, that one is for power. I don't know if it does data as well, but whatever. Shoulder buttons L1, L2, R1, R2. Plasticky rubbery actually things on the back, which I've said it before about these. They don't, to my hands, they serve no purpose whatsoever. But they do Maybe they're just to, I don't know, in the event of an earthquake it won't slide off your table. Protects the back from scratches as well, which is good. So yeah, the quality of the plastic is nice. It's textured, it doesn't feel cheap at all, it feels really well put together. I really like the colour scheme. Oh, I forgot to mention there's a headphone socket there. No HDMI, doesn't bother me at all. Little light, little LED thing, power LED. Also, audio, volume knob we'll call it, though it's not really a knob, is it? It's a wheel knob. Okay, so that's what's actually there. What about the ergonomics of... it's curtains, yay. What's it like to hold and stuff? And this is where we get serious and where I get kind of annoyed actually. I have an issue with Anbernic D-pads. The RG350 had this problem. The 280M not quite so much. This thing, oh, listen, up, down, left, right, no problem. Diagonal. It's not so bad that way. It's bad that way. Bad that way, but the whole thing pushes down, which is what's causing the click. I don't know if that's some kind of trigger mechanism in specific games or just the way it's designed. I don't know and I don't care. I hate it. It creates a physical resistance when it just makes it really bloody hard to do diagonal movements, to smoothly go from a left or an up or a whatever, you know, to transition from one direction to another when you're playing a game. I haven't seen anyone else complain about this. Maybe other people don't use their D-pads the way I do. Maybe I'm a bit heavy-thumbed. I don't know. I'm not generally a clumsy person, but it ruins it. I mean, I'm not just talking about slightly annoying. It renders a lot of games, to me, unplayable. And that's not good. Now, some games will let you use the analog stick instead of the D-pad, which is okay, except I don't like the analog sticks either. I've said this before in other reviews. Some analog sticks are fine. I really like the analog sticks on the original RG350. And I even don't mind the analog stick on the RK2020. And the problem with them is too much resistance. The self-centering force is too strong. And when you've got a really short distance between the center to fully left or fully right, and it's just pushing back that hard, it basically makes your analog stick a digital stick. It's all or nothing. There's no subtlety to it. You're just either centered or all the way to the side or the top or the bottom or whatever, and that is not what you want. And it's still no substitute for a good D-pad when you're playing a fighting game. So yeah, there's that, but wait, there's more. The size of this compared to, say, the 280M or the RK2020, this distance is slightly greater than on those handhelds, and that makes, if you've got your thumb on here and you want to push this button here while playing a game, really bloody uncomfortable. I like to hold the things like that. I can't reach that button holding it how I would normally hold it. I have found a way around this in that I've remapped the L1 and R1, L2 and R2 buttons. So where normally it wants you to press that, I'm pressing that. I've remapped them. Games like V-Rally, or rather V-Rally 2 and basically Dreamcast games, driving games, where they use the triggers to accelerate and brake. They're just they're just wrong. So I've swapped them round because, yeah, it's just massively uncomfortable. Probably fine if you've got bigger hands, but for me, yeah. Okay, that's enough about that. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a significant issue for anyone who's got small hands who holds the thing in the same way that I do. Maybe I'm just holding it wrong, but that's how I hold these things. Moving on. Right, let's turn this thing on. This is how it comes out of the box. It's got firmware built in. It's got games built in. It certainly did from Droidbox. Whether or not it did from Anbernic, I don't know. It uses EmuElec. I have used EmuElec before. I'm not entirely a fan, though it is very pretty. So we've got Nintendo DS, Final Burn Alpha, I'm wearing the wrong glasses, Final Burn Neo, MAME, WonderSwan Color, Capcom System 1, 2, 3, MSX, PC Engine, NES, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Mega Drive, or Genesis, Game Gear, Mega Drive, I don't know why they do two, Dreamcast, Neo Geo, Neo Geo Pocket, PlayStation, PSP, and then all of the games thrown in together, or favourites. So that's a fair selection of games. And you've got games built in. Games that, well, basically someone else has chosen, and that, I don't know, maybe there's something there for everyone. It's got Mario Kart DS, and I like that. A whole load of stuff that I don't give a monkey's about. So yeah, you've got a good few systems there with pre-selected sets of games. Let's have a look, see how well it actually does some of the more challenging ones. Capcom System 3 or CPS 3, whatever it's called. We'll have a look at Street Fighter 3, because that's quite challenging. I failed to play that on lesser handhelds, so we'll see how well this does. I don't know controlled much of anything about this game. I have played it before, I was terrible at it. But we're not playing this, or I'm not playing this to I'm not playing to impress, I'm playing to see if it works. And yeah, it works. Can you hear that D-pad clicking away? I don't know if he does anything when you... there's only like 2 moves that I know, and they're for Ryu, so... whatever. It seems to be working. Quite well, in fact. That's quite pleasing. I should probably zoom in a bit. It does look nice on this screen. Okay, we're going to quit that and have a look. If I remember how to quit. There we go. It is, I think it's Emulation Station at the front end on top of RetroArch with, I don't know what the base operating system is, something Linux based. Anyway, let's try something more challenging. I mean, there are only a couple of things that are really going to challenge it. We'll have a look at Nintendo 64. They haven't put many on. Is that Banjo and Kazooie? I thought it was Banjo Kazooie, not Banjo and Kazooie. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, we'll have a look, see how well that plays, because I seem to recall that's quite a challenging one. So, we're just going for a little run around after all of that. Very responsive. Oh, yeah, we can change camera angles with the other analog stick. It looks lovely. There is some graphical glitching, as you can see over there on the right. So it's not perfect. This is a challenging game. Other games will look perfect, I think. But even with the glitching, I think it's acceptable. It's gonna be playable. So yeah, N64, not perfect, but not terrible by any means. Right, more challenge. Dreamcast, okay. I don't think any of these games are really going to challenge. I haven't actually looked at Soul Blade. Let's look at that, because I know what the other ones are like. How well does it play this? Now, this, it's running on the default display settings, which is lower than native Dreamcast resolution. It's all going to be a little bit pixelated, I think. Yeah, I can't read any of that, except the press start bit. That's all you need. We'll go with arcade. Oh, oh dear. That's not right, is it? Does it matter? How's it going to be when we get to the game? It looks okay. I mean, it's it's pixelated more than if you were playing on a Dreamcast. But does that matter? You can play the game. Replay. That's unusual. I don't win. Come on, more. Oh, listen to that bloody D-pad. Here, have a foot in your face. Well, I button mash, because I don't know what I'm doing, but it doesn't seem to matter. Yeah, okay, that's working. And, you know, blocky. You can go into settings and alter the resolution. I'm not going to explain how. I will tell you that if you just alter the resolution and nothing else, it will glitch out badly, and took a lot of trial and error. And yeah, okay, moving on. Let's go to PSP. That's challenging. What do we got? Do you know, I don't know any of these. I've never played any of these games. I don't know how well they're going to play or how challenging they are. I mean, it looks all 2D. So that probably isn't. Let's try. What's Bloons? Sounds kind of homebrew. I have never played any of these Pro Evolution Soccer games at all. But I'm hoping this will challenge it a little bit, because those other ones are 2D and they won't. Okay, that's actually quite impressive looking. Got no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, that looks like it would be very, very playable if you were the kind of person who knew how to play football games, which I'm not. Get up, you... whatever. Okay, so what we can conclude from that is that I don't know how to quit the game. What we can conclude from that, apart from I suck at football games, especially when I don't know how to play them. Wait, we'll have a look at this. DS. No, wrong button. Also wrong button. Typically I would go for Mario Kart, but what else is there? Need for Speed. Yeah, Underground 2. You've got a stylus there. You can switch between screens with that button there, which you will need to do quite often, because you got to touch the screen and you need You need your virtual stylus to start the game, basically. You would think that, I don't know if this is one of them, there are certainly some games where, yeah, even though the thing that I want to click is highlighted, just pressing whatever button doesn't do it. You've got to do it with the stylus. It says select A. I'm pressing A. Got to put that on it. It's like using the stylus is compulsory. Can't remember the controls. We could have some volume now though. There we go. So, alright, minor niggle in the way the emulator works and requires the use of virtual stylus instead of just selecting with the D-pad and pushing a button. Wow! Driving much? Not really, no. Let's try the analog stick instead of the D-pad. Oops! Yeah, appalling driving aside, the DS emulator is really quite good. I mean, you don't need to. Most of the time, you don't need that second screen, and you can just switch between them. You could go into the options and change it so you've got like two screens side by side, or one above the other. They'd just be very small. And who wants a really small screen? Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. Of the more modern emulators on there, that is actually probably the best, because it will play a wider variety of games well. Where the Dreamcast and PSP, well, you'll see as we get further into this review. I am failing to exit that now. There we go. I want to go down. God, come on now. Where's me? I can't see what I'm highlighting. Sold it. Reset. Because I just can't be bothered with all that messing. I'm so glad they put a reset on this, unlike the Arcade 2020, because sometimes you just need a reset button. There we go. Having reset, I'm now going to turn it off. And yeah, as I pointed out in another review, you don't just turn these off. Press the start button to get to this here menu. Go to quit, press A, brings you to this one, shut down system. Do that or you'll potentially knacker your SD card. Right, give me a moment. So, you could just go with it as it is straight out of the box. You can add more ROMs. You can add ROMs for other systems. There'll be a whole load of folders in there with other game systems, and you can add ROMs to those and they will appear on the menu. However, me being me, I decided to install a new operating system altogether, a new firmware. This one is a modified variant on EmuElec called 351 ELEC. It includes elements of Batocera and other stuff that I don't really know. And it looks really cool. We've got lots and lots and lots of systems. However, while that's really impressive, and this is all sounding very negative, but bear with me. Some of them are just, I guess they're a good proof of concept. Yeah, here we go. Check out that frame rate. Need for Speed. Nice, slick, fast racing game. Not so much. I can't remember how to change the gears. You have to select a gear. There we go. There's a gear. I think we're going backwards. I would like to go forwards, please.
Oh, I see, we're in reverse. Duh. Because I know how to play this. God. Anyway, doesn't matter. You can see it's just not remotely playable at all. So, yeah. So, yeah, 3DO, yeah. For 3D games, it's not worth bothering. Amiga, I was really quite thrilled to find this here. Whatever, we'll just go with the first one. It's going to do what it's going to do, and what it's going to do is not play the game. It's not going to boot, it's going to give you a white screen, and it's just going to sit there and go duh and not let you out, which is oh, it let me out. Well, it did something. Yeah, doesn't work. Don't know why. Possibly the kickstart file isn't in the right place, but it is in the place where it tells you to put kickstart files. So yeah, let's try Atari 5200, because I've had trouble with this on various different systems. Can I make it work on here? Let's pick one that isn't a prototype. Berserk. Will this run? Apparently not. No. Oh, we have stuff happening. Copyright not. Oh. Yeah, that ain't working. What about Atari 800? Oh, that doesn't sound great. No, that ain't right at all. We got a load of systems on here. A lot of them work. Is that going to do anything? Well, that's something. Oh. Right. Okay. Yeah, I can't do anything with that. Okay. Whatever. Commodore 64, bubble bobble. Okay, that might work. Probably going to have to fast forward this. Making noises. I'll just sit back and wait. Yeah, you know. I know I've loaded Buggy Boy before on various Commodore 64 emulators, and it emulates the disk drive or tape drive like accurately, so it takes a long while to load on the real thing, and it takes a long while to load on here. But for the purposes of this video, I'm trying to record this in a limited time frame, and there simply isn't time to wait and see if this is going to load or not. So I don't know if we can safely presume it will or not, but I don't have time to find out. So if Commodore 64 does work, loading is exceptionally slow. CPS 1, 2 and 3, they work. Dreamcast. Now I tinkered with this to get an improved screen resolution, so that's worth a look. Right. Now this did take some significant messing around with to oh god. Here we go. Oh god. Some significant messing around with to get it to display properly in a higher resolution. That's just too loud. And I can't remember what I did. I wrote it all down, but it's not. It's too much stuff to just tell you do this, this, and this, and it'll work. This is demonstrating why I really don't like the. It's really bloody hard to reach these shoulder buttons. I'm playing it with the D-pad, which is. I'm getting away with it, but I don't. My hands are not comfortable at all. This was a thing with Sega on the Dreamcast. They really liked using the trigger buttons for accelerate and brake, where Sony would use that, which I much prefer. It's much more comfortable. Fair enough if you're playing on a joypad, which is like reasonably ergonomic, but when you transfer it across to a handheld like this, uncomfortable. But anyway, that works really well. The ergonomics aside, the emulator really is quite impressive. It doesn't play everything, but it plays enough stuff. Oh, what am I doing? It plays enough stuff to make it well worth installing. Yeah, it will play Daytona. Let's load Daytona. Insert sound effects in your own head. Have we got me? We probably. Yeah, we can have sound now. Alright, I can hear a little bit. There's a bit of glitching with the sound. Oh. Shoulder buttons for. Okay, you can't control this with the D-pad. You've got to use the analog stick, which. It's that all or nothing thing. Whoops. The frame rate is not perfect, but it's kind of like the frame rate on a Saturn actually, but you just got higher resolution graphics. It's like, yeah, pretty Saturn Daytona in terms of performance and visuals. Awkward to hold it because shoulder buttons for accelerate and brake. You would definitely want to do this in with auto gears. I think trying to change gear on here would be a nightmare. But it's pretty pleasing. I'm glad that it works. I'm not a fan of Daytona anyway, so I wouldn't spend an awful lot of time playing it. But the fact that it works and at a playable, it's not perfect, but it's playable. That pleases me. So, Dreamcast, Final Burn Alpha, loads and loads and loads of systems. Most of them work really well. MAME came with a load of games that I'm not sure how. Most of them, I presume, work really well, but there's one which I think I put. There's definitely an issue with a couple of games. Yeah. It's way messed up. So that's not great. Okay, right. Now, apart from the odd ROM here and there that doesn't work, they all tend to be pretty well configured. But this one, I just don't know what's going on here. Okay, we've got auto gears, but saying that it's not changing gear, and D-pad is not steering at all. Joystick, analog stick, is steering the wrong way. If I want to go right, I've got to turn left. What this says to me is, while a lot of the stuff on here is configured well, straight out of the box, not everything is. It's just... that is so completely wrong and messed up. It's probably possible to fix it going into settings, but the fact that it came like that, I initially thought, yay, they've configured everything. They've got all of the emulators configured and the controls sorted and everything. No, not everything, but PSP. Well, what do we got? I always like to look at Space Invaders Extreme because it's actually an easy one to run, but it's also great. So we'll have a quick look.
Taito Corporation.
Taito. I don't care if you work for them and you're saying it correctly. It's Taito, like potato. Taito. Controversy.
Stage 1.
Let's go. Here we go. Beautiful. It's like, oh, unlike the playing, which sucks. When it comes to PSP emulation, this is always the first game I go to, or the first one I try. It's like, it might fail at everything else, but if it will at least play this, it's worth having it there. If it won't play this, you might as well delete it and just throw it in the bin, or at least not use the PSP emulation if it won't play this. And I've got handhelds that won't. You know, they've got the emulator, but they can't do this. And I'm like, yeah, don't bother with that. But this, no, that's cool. I'm pleased. Gran Turismo, we'll have a look at that. This is always like my primary test, if you like. It's not too hard to run, but it's not too easy either. So it's like, it's a fair test. There are some games like God of War or Test Drive Unlimited, you just forget it. They're not going to run full speed unless you've got them on a powerhouse of a system. But this, more modest systems should be able to play it. It's not going to be perfect, but it should just about be playable if you can accept significantly lower frame rates than would be ideal. It's kind of like, oh, here we go. It's like playing Formula 1 Grand Prix on the Amiga 500. If it can get to that level of performance, then fine. I always test it at Monaco. Oh, ooh, pretty sound. Probably gonna have to alter the settings and everything so it ran okay. No, we might be all right. Yeah, have I tweaked this? Not sure. This is probably about... yeah, this is about as good as it's going to go. We won't even look at Test Drive Unlimited. It would be painful. So, I mean, PlayStation, it's going to work just fine. You don't even need me to show it. It just does. That is the 351 ELEC operating system. Firmware, call it what you like. It's a lot like the default firmware. It might actually be less sorted. I'm not sure what the benefits are. What I can tell you is there are quite a few emulators on there, or several, that just aren't sorted. Things just don't want to load, and it frustrated me quite a lot. And I was going to say, this is not great as a system, because the operating system or the firmware on it, well, the hardware is good and the ergonomics are questionable. I was thinking the firmware is just not sorted. However, we have another firmware, ArcOS or ArcOS. It's based on Ubuntu. It's using RetroArch as the core emulation system. It's got Emulation Station as the front end. It's got lots of systems on board, all the same stuff, in fact maybe more, that was on 351 Elec. And do you know what's different about this? Apart from the fact that it's got a whole load of added features, like there's Wi-Fi support, you can play online. I haven't tried that. All kinds of scrapers and themes and background music that you can add. It works. It is sorted. I've played a ton of games on here, and I don't think I've got a Super Monaco Grand Prix on here to show that that works, but that's a shame. This is the bee's knees in terms of operating system firmware on here. What can I show you that I haven't shown you on the other ones to show you how well it works? Because the ones I showed you largely they either worked or they didn't work. Everything on here works, and it works well. Let's see, is Gran Turismo more sorted? Did I tweak this? Can't remember. There we go. That's maybe a little bit better than it was on 351 Elec. The settings may not be exactly the same. No, that's definitely better. Yeah, that's like Formula One Grand Prix on an Amiga 500 back in the 90s. That kind of frame rate. So if you played an Amiga back then and played that game back then and found that acceptable, you'll find this acceptable. If you're one of those less than 60 frames per second is unplayable, well, you just won't bother with this. You'll say it's unplayable. I think it's playable. It's not slick. It's not the most enjoyable experience, but if you happen to be out and have this thing in your pocket and you're desperate for a game of Gran Turismo and you don't want to play like a PlayStation 1 game, you want something a bit more modern, this will do at a push if you're desperate. It's not great, but can't remember the buttons. There we go. That's the thing, where most of the emulators on here have used the same buttons to exit and do various things because they're all part of RetroArch, but you've got some standalone emulators that use different key conventions or whatever, and the PSP one is one of those. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, this pleased me no end. Right. 4, 5, and we can play Jetpack. Yay. And for some of you, it's like, yeah, so what? But first, some of us, this is heaven. And listen to that D-pad. Grr. Really, grr. It feels... The game is glorious. The D-pad is horrible. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. It gets me killed. Yeah. But I'm really pleased that there is a working Spectrum emulator on here. Some of these things there isn't. It lacks BeebM, which is a thing that's been appearing on like all of the Open Dingux handhelds, which pleases me no end because I get to play Starship Command. It's not on here, shame. But overall, as far as the firmwares go, this one is the best one I've tried. I've tried the standard one, I've tried 351 Elec, and I've tried this, Arc OS. This is the best by far. So, yeah, performance-wise, it does the DS really quite well. PSP isn't quite there. Dreamcast, you know, they're playable. They're not perfect, but they're not bad. And the Dreamcast, well, if you knock the resolution down, you increase the frame rate. It's like, take your pick which way you want to do it. What do I think in the end?
Here's the thing. I'm aware that throughout this video my tone has been rather negative, and that's not actually what I wanted to do. It's just how this system makes me feel. I had really high hopes given the systems that it emulates. I've played the RK2020 and hated the thoroughly knackered, ill thought out, ill executed nature of it, but I liked how the system actually felt in my hand. I thought, okay, Anbernic are doing one. They're great. I like Anbernic. I really like their handhelds. And I had high hopes that this would be spot on. I thought they're going to put a lot of effort into the firmware operating system. They did. Where the people who made the RK2020, it's just like throw the operating system at it, don't configure it, nothing, just leave it to the end user. You just give you a piece of junk as a firmware. Anbernic sorted it. It's like all the systems that are installed that they've added ROMs to, they work, they're configured. That's cool. You can buy it, you can play it, and it works. Great. And I was hoping for that. I actually said that in a video, you know, they need to put in the effort, and they did. What bothered me is the ergonomics of it. That D-pad, I don't understand why I'm the only person complaining about it. It's horrible. I've watched quite a few videos of people who have reviewed it. Is it because they've been given a freebie? I was offered a freebie. I only declined because I'd already ordered one. But, you know, is there... The way they phrased it was, would I help them promote it? That doesn't sound like a review to me. And is that what other people have done? Because, really, that D-pad is shocking. The analog sticks, I mean, they're fine. I'm just fussy. For me, it's a personal preference. I'm not keen on them. They're not broken. I just find little tiny analog sticks on handhelds don't really serve the purpose very well. But they're fine. The ergonomics of having your thumb on the D-pad or the analog stick and reaching the shoulder buttons and trigger buttons. No, hands my size, on some games it is physically impossible, to the extent I had to remap them to make it work. So these aspects of it really, they spoil it. They spoil the experience of holding it in your hand and playing the games. The fact that all the buttons that you need are there, great. People who made the RK2020 really need a slap for taking away like the reset button and whatever else they took away. It's got all the buttons you need. They're all in pretty good places except bloody triggers when you're trying to play a game. Screen is nice. Really, I can't complain massively except for the D-pad. Maybe my hands are just too small. With 351 Elec, well, you can't blame Anbernic for that. It's a firmware with a lot of potential that just isn't quite sorted yet. Some of the emulators just don't work right or aren't configured properly. Not Anbernic's fault. I don't recommend that firmware. Try a different one. Try just updated EmuElec, though honestly I'm just not fond of that as an operating system or firmware. ArcOS, ArcOS, whatever. Love it, really. If you're going to update your firmware and put in a different firmware, put in that one. It is sorted. It's got lots of features that I haven't shown you because I'm under a certain time constraint here. I'm trying to record this while I have the room because quite often I don't. So if things seem a bit rushed, sorry about that. It's because things are a bit rushed. Yeah, that firmware I think is great. I mean, this is the thing. Do I really love this as a handheld? No, I don't. No one else is saying that. It frustrates me. It took a lot of doing to find a firmware that I liked and thought this is actually really good, this is the way to go. But even with that, and the games run well or as well as you can expect, and let's be honest, it is a little bit underpowered for doing PSP and Dreamcast. You can play some games adequately. It's pretty good at Nintendo 64. Everything below that, no problem, except I still can't get Mega CD games to run. Been having a problem with that on quite a few systems lately. But anyway, getting the firmware sorted, great. It's doable. You can get it to run most stuff as well as can be expected. But I just find it uncomfortable in the hand, and the D-pad is horrible, and that fact spoils it. I'm frustrated. The number of times I've been playing a game and I've lost a life because I couldn't move in the direction I wanted to because the D-pad had gone click and didn't respond in the way I expected it to or wanted it to. Ruined it. Or I couldn't reach the brakes on a racing game because my hand just won't go into the right shape necessary to be steering in the right direction and reach that trigger button. Can't do it. Physically impossible to do, and that spoils it. Not everyone will have this problem. Some people are just going to have bigger hands and hold it in a different way so they can reach all the shoulder buttons, and they're doing the D-pad differently to me. I don't know what other people are doing. How do other people use a D-pad so it doesn't go click? Ugh. Yeah, so in the end I've got very mixed feelings about it. I love Anbernic hardware as a rule, but this one frustrates me. So I leave it up to you. These things might not affect you at all. The only thing I can absolutely say for 100% certain, for God's sake, don't order it from Retro Mimi. Yeah, Droidbox, nice one. It arrived in 2 days. That was pleasing. Okay, that's. I'm trying not to sound harsh. I'm trying to be fair. It's not a bad handheld. It's not a bad handheld. There are just issues that I have with it that others might as well, and I think they need mentioning because no one else is. Not that I've seen anyway. Right, thank you for watching, and before you go, if you'd like to see other videos like reviews of handhelds from China and other tech and stuff, check out the playlist below in the information area, whatever, and in the pinned comment.
Ah, there you are. Have you finished polishing the silverware like I asked you? Yes? Splendid. Here's 50p. Now, go and click the subscribe button like a good peasant.